Hello, Mr. Carball. Today I will be doing my video presentation, which will be on how did nuclear warfare affect anime's popularity. I chose this topic because over quarantine, I kind of got into anime, not too deep into it, but it was enough that I kind of sparked my, feelings of interest, and so I wanted to delve deeper into kind of the world of anime and figure out how it originated and its roots. So I will be doing a quick presentation on how nuclear warfare affected anime's popularity. So Japan during World War II and the US bombing. So when Emperor Hirohito heard of the devastating losses in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, he realized two things. One was that America possessed the most powerful weapon created in the history of humanity, and the other was that in order for Japan to avoid suffering from avoiding staggering casualties, they would have to surrender to the Allied forces, which was something that was generally not accepted by the Japanese public. So immediately following the years after the war, American aid swiftly arrived in Japan to help repair the trembling economy. And along with economic reform, America also brought many other things along with them, one of them being animated cartoons. Japan had already developed their own cartoons, also known as manga, prior to the US influence, and during World War II, the Japanese government would use these manga writers to create propaganda as a way to boost morale and trust in the Japanese government through political cartoons. These animated cartoons never really gained traction in Japan until a man named Osamu Tezuka, a young aspiring Japanese manga writer, decided to combine Japanese manga with these animated cartoons. He was inspired by Walt Disney, a famous animator and cartoonist, after World War II, when America brought reform. With his creation of Astro Boy, the first anime in history, he sparked an interest that would spread internationally for many years to come. By the 1960s, Astro Boy had already crossed international borders and became very popular, especially in America. Many other Japanese cartoonists became familiar with the idea of anime and created their very own, such as people such as Hayao Miyazaki, Akira Toriyama, and Isao Takahata. While this generation of anime is still completely different from modern anime, there are still many distinct features from the older anime scene in present-day anime. Wait, one sec. Alright, so Akira Toriyama bridged this gap between the previous generational anime and newer Japanese pop culture anime through his release of Dragon Ball, which was in 1986, and it became one of the most popular anime known to date. And it would later on have many sequels, such as Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball GT. These animes appealed to the next generation, which was already becoming accustomed to the technological advances in Japan and the world at the time. Other anime, including Sailor Moon and Pokemon, paved the way for even newer generational anime to be released. One major difference between what would be considered older anime in today's terms prior to 2000 and modern day anime, which would be 21st century anime, is the usage of colors. Older anime tend to use much more vibrant colors, while modern anime tend to have a more natural palette. The only exception to this would be Astro Boy, because they didn't quite really have color to show on TV, so up until that time, it would have been just black and white. The audience take Dragon Ball, for example. It has significantly brighter colors compared to Attack on Titan, which was made in 2013. Attack on Titan uses a lot more realistic and dull colors compared to what had been used in the color palette 30 years before. And also the audience for newer anime was significantly more international than it had been decades prior, because prior to the 21st century, anime wasn't as popular internationally, and in the 21st century, its international viewership skyrocketed. Many anime and Japanese cartoonists were also influenced by the events of World War II in Japan. For example, take Astro Boy, which was widely regarded as one of the first anime, and it reflected on this theme very deeply. Some other examples of this anime of this type would be Grave of the Fireflies, which was a tragic animated film created to show what happened to the young lives that were affected directly by the war and the bombings. And there are many more films like this, such as Barefoot Gen, Space Cruiser Yamato, and Akira. Today, anime has remained a large part of Japanese culture, pop culture, as well as international viewership. The themes in today's anime caters to what audiences kind of want today, which would be action, romance, and mystery, and comedy. Many decades later, America's influence in Japan became more and more evident through the creation of animated cartoons, along with other things, such as televisions, automobiles, and more. More so, without post-war economic reform, Walt Disney and the curiosity of a young cartoon artist named Osamu Tezuka, anime could have looked completely different from what it is today, or it possibly could have not existed at all.